Tell me if this is weird to you, and then we're going to talk about it. And as always, please don't forget to save and share this, as it helps get this important message spread in this digital world.
Dating women is gay. Having sex with women is gay. And
Welcome back to Straight Guys Aren't Straight, Incel Edition.
really being honest, never having a girlfriend, never having sex with a woman, really makes you more heterosexual.
Someone feels confused.
The only really straight heterosexual position is to be an asexual incel.
Y'all, it gets wilder.
Having sex in itself is gay.
Just so that we're all on the same page, that person that was just talking is this person. And while you may be laughing at him, he has millions of people that listen to him, mostly young boys and men. Please ask your sons or brothers or fathers if they know who that is. Because there's a pipeline to the alt-right, and he is a part of it.
Have you ever been in a romantic relationship? Have you ever had sex with a girl? And I said no.
We now need to connect some very important dots, and we're going to be talking about Charlie Kirk, Nick Fuentes, who you just watched, transmaxing, femboy culture, and incels. And of course, everyone's favorite red pillar, Andrew Tate. And if you're like Barrett, I don't know what any of that means, well, welcome to the Love Army. Please make sure you hit that follow button, because I've been talking about this stuff for over 5 years, warning people that this is where we were going to get. Nick Fuentes has millions of followers, as I said in that video from 2022. Those followers are called the Gropers. And this comes from a Toad meme that you can look up easy. And they are largely incels, which means involuntarily celibate, meaning these are young men who can't have sex. So they turn to femboy transmaxing. This is now where it gets real dark, and links back to the original video that I just played for you from 2022. Transmaxing is a subgroup of incels and gropers who are looking to transition not because they are in fact trans, but because they think that women have life easier than them and think it will up their social status, their ability to have sex, their ability to exist in this world in an easier way, which is crazy. But the thing that you have to remember here is that this is a ton of young prepubescent boys, maybe just hitting puberty, that don't really understand the real world and are sitting on technology, listening to someone like Nick Fuentes, who is 27, tell them how life is from his own mother's basement. And now I'm sure you're like, where does Charlie Kirk come into all of this? Well, Charlie Kirk is someone that Nick Fuentes and his gropers have strongly disliked because he wasn't far right enough. And what we know about the alleged person who Charlie Kirk is that he was a groper, meaning that he was a follower of Nick Fuentes and got a lot of his ideology in the groper, incel, super far-right movement. And this is where we get back to why this is so important. Because all of this focus on trans people is the wrong group of people as a whole, where we need to be looking at these young, mostly white boys who are on their phones endlessly taking in super content. This idea that it's gay to have sex with women seems like kooky. However, to these 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old boys who are being actively radicalized by people like Andrew Tate, by people like Nick Fuentes, they are listening to this, taking it in, and already being rejected from women. So this gives them an easy answer in their very short little lived lives to not feel as if they're wrong. And this is why I say that the answer to patriarchy is not matriarchy. I love matriarchy, I'm here for it, but it's queerness. And I believe that within queerness, women lead as well. I think we need more female leaders as a whole, period. Within queerness, you get to define yourself not in this binary of like straight and gay, but as in a fluidity that allows you to safely identify how you want for yourself. And in a space where possibilities are endless for yourself and others in a safe way, means that you can't be preyed upon by people who want to put you into these little cages of masculine and feminine, male and female. Because at the end of the day, none of us are 100% anything. Again, this is why I've warned about the dangers of the red pill movement and people like Andrew Tate, because it's a pipeline to ultra far right ideology. There's so much more to this, but I'm going to stop here for now so I don't overload you with information. But I am curious, had you heard about all of this? Is this all new to you? Please engage in this conversation. And if you're new here, welcome to our Love Army. Much love, y'all.
All right. Let me just first test and make sure that I can be heard. Oh, hold on. I don't have no production group, so I got to kind of wing it. So bear with me, y'all. Okay. Yep. I can be heard. Perfect. All right. Welcome, 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 all the who are watching. So here's the deal. I came out the gate with the whole Groiper transmaxing thing, which we're actually going to go over together because this is for those who will tune in later and people who pretty much have a short attention span. So I need to just come out the gate and let you know this is how far we're going with this whole the government wants women to save men, because there's so many dots that I'm going to connect for you guys. And then when I connect those dots, you will see why we are in the state of emergency that we are in today, and the regressiveness that is being pretty much shoved down our throats by this administration. So there's a connection to all of these things. All of the things that are happening is something that all these dots I'm about to connect for you. Now, I could go on camera, but my setup is not set up to do so. So I have to figure that out. I have not yet figured that out. Soon as I figure that out, we on. Now, personally, I'm not big on doing YouTube lives. I don't like doing them. They require production. They require preparation. I don't have a script. I'm never going to have a script. I refuse to have a script. It's just too much. Okay. Unless I'm doing a short form TikTok video and basically getting paid for this, I really don't see the point. But with that being said, I'm not big on doing the YouTube streaming, but I was forced to. Now listen to this, y'all. Right around the time of Charlie Kirk's, matter of fact, I'm going to say CK, because I don't want them to suppress this in the algorithm. So when you hear CK, you know who I'm talking about. So right around the time CK got, I did a video, and the video included stuff about Nick Fuentes, Ben Shapiro. You like, who the fuck is these people you talking about? Listen, I'll get to that. We just gonna tell you. I'm just telling you what happened, okay? We gonna tell you why I'm streaming on YouTube. Then we'll get into all the other extra stuff. So I did a video on it, kind of linking a lot of what happened to CK to a lot of it. It's similar to like gang territory and wars, a war over the minds of the youth, a war over what they call the quote unquote woke mind virus. And what I find funny is how they are using, how now, of course, white tea people or people in conservative spaces have now co-opted that word to pretty much be a large umbrella to talk about trans, to talk about black people, to talk about brown people, to talk about immigrants, to talk about liberal women. This all goes under the woke umbrella. Liberal men too, gay men, LGBTQ members. This all goes under the woke umbrella. Now remember, if many of you were here during 2016 to 2020, many of you were here. We were all a part of this whole big to-do online with a lot of the public unalivings, unwarranted public unalivings of BLK men. Okay, I'm using coded language because of the immense amount of censorship that is happening nowadays. Okay, so basically this whole situation occurred because I did that video pretty much speaking on the situation and showcasing how there is beef between these factions because they don't want people to have progressive thoughts. They don't want people to humanize women. They don't want people to humanize gay people. They don't want people to humanize immigrants. To them, they're destroying the country. But what are they destroying the country from, you might ask? Well, we know what they're destroying the country from. We don't have to look no further. Okay? We don't have to to think about it. We know what they are concerned about. We understand that fully. And this is important to you. This ain't just some white people stuff. Okay? This is important to all of us. And I'm going to bring it all the way home. If your attention span, hey, tell you what, if you can't just watch the screen, because it's only one, I ain't showing nothing right now, just put your headphones in, okay? Because I'm going to take you on a ride, honey. We're going to get on the same page here today because we need to know what we're up against. So with that being said, okay, they have this whole push against the quote woke mind virus. This is something that one of the richest men in the world, Elon Musk, has said, who is clearly a white supremacist. So that's problematic because rich people run the world nowadays, okay? Not our politicians, not our churches. Yeah, they're thought leaders, but they can be bought. So rich people run the world right now. And if the person who runs the world or the people who run the world are white supremacists, it's important to capture the mind of the youth and make it so that they pretty much uphold patriarchy. And patriarchy, as I have said to many people who frequent my material, patriarchy includes three things, honey, and they're going to uphold this, and they're separate, but they're equal. Whiteness, maleness, heterosexuality. Whiteness, maleness, heterosexuality. Okay? And those three things are separate but equal. That is why black men and Hispanic men can benefit from the patriarchy because they are men. And provided some of them are heterosexual, some of them are pretending to be heterosexual. We'll get into that. The ones that are considered heterosexual, heteronormative, they also benefit. There's rewards for patriarchy, okay? But when you're none of those things, when you are queer, when you are a person of color, if you happen to have a vagina, you don't meet the standards of patriarchy. And therefore, your ideals and your thought processes are less than human. I'm just going to keep it real funky with y'all. I'm not going to try to use any kind of deep language or any kind of, $1 million words. You have been dehumanized. You have been dehumanized from the day you was born. Now, you could be a heterosexual woman, but if you're a person of color and you a woman, you don't meet the pinnacles of patriarchy, okay? Your heterosexuality, the only entrance into patriarchy is through marriage with a man. These are all man-made things, by the way. They only exist in the collective mind of the people. And so what happened with the quote-unquote woke mind virus, which white folks stole from black folks, okay? And then they decided they were going to put LGBTQ, immigrants, and other people of color under that same entire umbrella. They decided, boom, this is a problem. Because if we humanize all these people, we give all these people opportunity and credence, then that's going to mean less opportunity for us. They make it seem as if the world is not vast and abundant. They make it seem like it's scarce. And they create systems for said scarcity. Okay? So with that being said, when the entire shift happened between 2016 and 2020, when the public executions were occurring, as many right-wing people say, oh, there should be public executions, CK included, they're making these particular comments, but these things have already happened in today's time. So the railing against that just kind of broke something in these people. But the more important thing that we need to note is the fact that a lot of men are failing. And this is what the fight was about. Around about 2020, when Kevin Samuels came into the picture. Now, this was coming off the back of black women going hard for black men. And even if people want to say that BLM was fake, it was this, it was that, pause for a moment. Let's go back to that time when we, quote unquote, didn't know that. I'm not rendering an opinion on it one way or the other, but I just want to put you in the mindset of what was happening between 2018 and 2020. Black women were railing hard for black men. And it is my opinion that Sandra Bland sacrificed her life for black men. It is my opinion that Sandra Bland sacrificed her life for black men. Okay? Make sure you comment. Make sure you share this. She sacrificed her life. Her anger and her vitriol towards the police was because of constantly seeing men who look like her being executed for small, petty offenses. Her anger and her defensiveness towards them was because of her love and empathy for the black man. So she's getting smart with the police. She's talking crazy to the police. She's going back and forth with the police. And somehow she ends up unalived. Now, listen, I'm trying to use coded language because YouTube don't like me talking about nothing controversial. I'm a small creator. For some odd reason, my Facebook streaming is just totally gone and nobody won't tell me nothing. So it is what it is. But I'm here as a truth teller, okay? I don't got no damn TikTok dances for y'all, okay? All right? I won't be doing no trends no time soon, okay? So with that being said, I just want to put the truth out there. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help people see the truth and see the light in them. That's what I do. Twilight. Miss Twilight. Okay? So with that being said, 2016 to 2020, black women were railing hard for black men. We were showing up at those protests. We were showing them great love. We were showing them immense amount of respect. We were showing them that we were there for them, that we totally were into them. That being said, we were also sacrificing ourselves for them. So it's crazy in 2020 when people like Kevin Samuels came out and many other manosphere red pill groups start to come out, and the things that we heard as a feedback loop about black women. Now, black women have in their mind, we're willing to sacrifice ourselves for the love of black men. Even black women who have been through immense amount of shit with black men was going out there, okay, and was protesting, was creating policies and laws. BLM was created by two LGBTQ women. There was really nothing in it for us but the pure empathy and love for them. So then when Kevin Samuels started saying that black women are fat and black women are masculine and Latin, whole goddamn podcast sitting there saying that Latino women are better than black women. Now, of course, he did get on the men prior to, obviously, I want to give credence to that, when he was talking about, them not being able to financially take care of themselves, them being in contradiction, them not meeting a certain pinnacle of manhood. But keep that certain pinnacle of manhood in mind as we are going down this road of what's called transmaxing. Okay?
Tell me if this is weird.
Hold on. So, before I show this video real quick, again, and go over that, I want to talk about how we didn't see it coming as black women. We didn't. We didn't know that they felt this way. And it was a shock to our system, and we wasn't ready for it. Okay? And ultimately, we started to hear that we weren't good enough to be made wives. We start hearing that we were too big. We start hearing that we were too masculine. we start hearing, listen, we start hearing we was too successful. Okay, we don't care about your college degrees. We don't care that you're able to financially take care of yourself and show financial independence. We don't want that. We don't want women like that. We want women that are dependent. We're going overseas. We're taking our party across the ocean. Okay, we're going to Colombia. We're doing this. We're doing that. And it was just black women. We got on our feet pretty good. But I'm gonna tell you, it was a shocker. Okay, it was a shocker initially, and I think that it didn't make sense because here we are willing to pretty much martyr ourselves for black men, and they're sitting here telling us, "Oh, yeah, but you're too big and too masculine, and you don't let a man be a man, and you're not worth marrying, and y'all baby mamas," and it was just like mind blowing. So this is what led to the gender wars between 2020 and 2025, which I'm not trying to restoke. I'm just trying to say that if we compare and look at the whole context and story, the reaction from black women is warranted, because now you're saying that we're inadequate in some kind of way. Well, based on the rules of patriarchy, you too are inadequate. But wait, there's more. It wasn't just black men that were failing to meet the pinnacles of patriarchy. Again, I give the context. Pinnacles of patriarchy. It wasn't just black men that was failing to meet the pinnacles of patriarchy. It was also white tea men. Okay, hold on. So I'm gonna play a little bit of what Dave Ramsey said about men, and then first of all, I'm gonna go for the 7 million men are choosing not to work. Now again, this is going to go into the whole my point of my argument, which is fact-based. I'm not trying to editorialize. I'm not trying to just throw my opinion in there. I want you to see what's happening, because see, what a lot of black women or women don't understand is we have to understand the backdrop of patriarchy and what it means to be a patriarch. Mostly they try to say it means to be a provider, a leader, to be financially stable, to be able to have women. But the manosphere kind of perverted it a little bit. And to add to that, it's being able to dominate a woman, making her a subjugated, dehumanized specimen, having as many women and as much sex as you want, working out in the gym, bench pressing 1,000. And you know, these are very rigid rules to be a patriarchal man. That's why that last part of the first video I showed, when the man said, let them, I think the answer is not matriarchy, it's queerness. That's why I let it play. But again, I'm not advocating for men to be queer. Hear me and hear me out. If you ever been around DL men, you know why them suppressing the truth about them. They are mean, they are nasty, they are deceptive, they are competitive. Who the hell want that? Just let them be queer, for God's sakes, okay? But I'm going to go ahead and play this video real quick.
There are about 7 million men, roughly, who are of working age in the United States. There's nothing keeping them from working other than they're being supported by friends and family members. They feel like the dream has died or it never materialized. Whole host of reasons, but this is a real problem in our economy, but a bigger societal issue. 7 million able-bodied men, Adam, can work, but they are choosing not to even try to work. And I just want your take on that. I want to throw that at you as a guy who did work hard, whether you're desperate or not. You've really busted your tail And does that trouble you, one? And two, what do you think is maybe one of the key causes of that alarming data?
Yeah, it does alarm me. And I think we have a sort of modern problem, and it's mostly on the left, where we talk about work and a vocation and expertise and then money, and we kind of conflate all of them and sort of go, well, look, if we had universal income, then these people wouldn't have to work, and then it would all be the same. And they'd be freed up to, study art and learn how to play a piccolo and learn a third language and all this kind of stuff. And we're missing the point. You know what I mean? Like, when I was swinging a hammer, I was making $250, $300 a week, but I was on my feet. I was breaking a sweat. I was up in the morning. I had a schedule and I had a skill. I learned a skill.
So, by the way, this is what they are saying is masculine. The men who they are throwing shade at is effeminate men and men who are creative and artsy, which you will notice a lot of men will not do skilled labor for nothing in this world. I'm gonna replay what he said.
We're missing the point. You know what I mean? Like, when I was swinging a hammer, I was making $250, $300 a week, but I was on my feet. I was breaking a sweat. I was up in the morning. I had a schedule and I had a skill. I learned a skill. I became a journeyman carpenter and I had dignity. Like, I got up and I went somewhere and I earned my money. And if you would have just dropped off $300 at my apartment once a week, I'd still be in that apartment, probably morbidly obese about now.
All right, so we're starting to formulate the idea that this is what they think is masculinity. Hold on, let me go back. Now, I've never seen this.
What are the biggest problems you see today with men when it comes to work, life, money, and family?
Men have been devalued and trivialized and been the villain or the clown of everything for a good 20 years. You don't see a TV commercial where the dad is the hero, he's an idiot, or a sitcom where the dad is the hero, he's an idiot. The 12-year-old is the smart one, and they smart off through the whole script. And they're the brilliant one, And but the dad's a doofus, and the mother.
This is very interesting. Now, I have not seen this one particularly myself, but here's another gripe for men. Men are saying that the way that they are now, this is Dave Ramsey. He's very influential in the financial space. Okay, definite Trump supporter. You know the type. Okay. So he's saying that men are just buffoons and made to be fools in society. This is very interesting. Now this part I haven't heard. I know about the men needing to, appear to be so dang masculine, but I didn't know all these other variables. Yeah, he did point back at himself. Definitely. Make sure you comment, make sure you share this so that I can eventually get on the algorithm. I don't know. They hate me, so I don't know if I'll ever get on the algorithm. But with that being said, let me just keep going.
Rolls her eyes at the doofus that she picked as a life partner. And if you do that to any segment of the economy long enough, eventually they begin to believe it. And so we have 7.2 million men that are able-bodied, able-minded, that are not engaged in the workplace right now. They're doing nothing. They're sitting. Because the entire culture has said, you're a doofus, you're a buffoon, you're valueless. Manhood, masculinity is toxic by its very nature. And so you're of no value. And the problem is it's destroying.
So let me pause right there. You see how dangerous this messaging is? Do you guys see how dangerous this messaging is? I'm going to comment on this. Let me go right back to what he was saying. Dave Ramsey.
No, they're doing nothing. They're sitting. Because the entire culture has said, you're a doofus, you're a buffoon, you're valueless. Manhood, masculinity is toxic by its very nature. And so you're of no value. And the problem is it's destroying not only economics, but social fabric as well. Because
boom. So he says something key. He says it's not only destroying economics, but social fabric as well. Ooh wee. Ooh, honey, they are seething, honey. They are seething. Okay. So the thing is, what makes this dangerous is the ideals that uphold patriarchy is conflated exclusively to masculinity. The ideals that uphold patriarchy are conflated exclusively to masculinity. And I would argue that they are separate. Why are they separate? Because when it comes to masculinity, what defines masculinity is leadership, protection, stability, sound mind, earth being a little bit more of on a grounded, logical playing field, using all the mechanics of your left brain, right? Patriarchy is something different. Patriarchy requires dominance. It requires dehumanization of other people. It requires colonization. It requires demeaning other people. It requires humiliation. It requires so many other things. So when I hear men speak about what they deem masculinity, because we have been programmed to include patriarchy plus masculine and make patriarchy the face of masculinity, we get this kind of barbaric masculinity. Okay? The chauvinistic masculinity. A masculinity that requires everyone else to be subjugated around them. And that is the problem. Now, do we expect everybody's mind to be have the level of depth to be able to critically think like this? No. So what you're going to get is a bunch of raging lunatics who are angry and upset because the patriarchy is no longer serving them. Okay? The patriarchy is no longer serving them. She say patriarchy forms men. Let me see if I can pop this out so that I can see it. She says, this was a problem before the 21st century. Patriarchy harms men as well. Yes, it does. But mentally, yes, that is extremely staggering. But mentally, when it comes down to the men, they're not looking at it as the patriarchy is harming them. They're looking at it as society is abandoning them. They're looking at it as society is abandoning them. So, what has to happen in order for these men to be what they need to be? Now, listen, here's my commentary. I'm going to pause the facts. This is me pausing the facts. And I'm going to give you my commentary. This is my opinion. My opinion about this situation in terms of men being seen as buffoons. Some of y'all know what I'm about to say, okay? Listen. Men are not being seen as buffoons because it's not mostly true. Hear me out. Okay. The patriarchy holds them to this standard of stoicness and clear inner resolve, and they're these dynamic beings who are full of who are virile and who are alpha. That's not the average man. That's not the average man. So what might make him look like a buffoon is just him being him. Not necessarily being logical, but being egotistical. We conflate the two. Not necessarily him having a structured mindset, but him being tunnel vision and linear. So what looks like being a buffoon is juxtaposed to the reality of what men are. And what I'm trying to get people to understand is this is actually not a diss against men. It's actually just us coming into the reality of what men are. We keep on shoving these ideological thoughts about what men are down their throats. They're not able to reach them. They're not able to reach them. They're not able to reach them. You tell me that men are not able to reach these ideological pinnacles when the masculine party, who Republicans, okay, they call themselves the party of masculinity, and they're all about the two-parent home and the nuclear family, and the men go work and the women serve, and you submit to your husband. CK, before he unalived, said to Taylor Swift on national TV, with her getting engaged to, I believe, Travis Kelce is his name, Taylor, submit to your husband. Maybe you can get some of that liberal ideology and that feminist ideology out of your head now that you have gotten engaged. CK said that days before his passing. So this is supposed to be the party of masculinity and nuclear family and Christian values. Why every time they have a convention, Grindr is crashing? Why every time they have a big convention, Grindr is crashing? Let's connect those dots. You think I'm playing? Hold on. Let me show you. Now, if you don't know what Grindr is an app like Bumble or what is that? I don't even use those dang apps. But anyway, it's like Bumble. Okay? This app is like Bumble, and this app allows you to meet the same sex. So how is Grindr crashing? Hold on 1 second. This is freaking hilarious. So, here we are. Grindr dating app crashes in Milwaukee during RNC. Everything we know. You know, child, they gonna bombard you with this. But here they are at the Republican National Convention, and the app allegedly experienced problems that day. Nevertheless, a Grindr user who did not want to be identified told Milwaukee Journal Sentinel he noticed an influx of anonymous users this week. So they are literally going on Grindr during Republican. I'm talking about these the masculine men, mind you. These the masculine men, mind you. These are the ones who are into family values. These are the ones that are the Christians. These are the ones who want the nuclear families. Make it make sense. How is the app crashing? Oh, you think it's just that run Republican National Convention? Oh, but wait, there's more. Okay, I'm gonna play this because supposedly it also happened when during Charlie Kirk's funeral. Okay, hold on. It's way too much music going on here. Let's see. All right, we're gonna look at this one. All right.
You know, I bet it was just a bunch of people who already lived in Arizona. They downloaded Grindr to try to make us conservative. Arizona due to overuse during CK's funeral. This is my impression of a conservative couple talking about the Grindr crash. So first the guy would say something like this. You know, I bet it was just a bunch of people who already lived in Arizona. They downloaded Grindr to try to make us conservatives look bad. And then the wife would pick up his phone and go, but sweetie, why do you have Grindr on your phone? And then he would say, oh, I just downloaded it by accident when I was trying to download another app that starts with G. I can't think of the other app right now, but I'll think of it in just a second. And she would say, okay, just take your time. Let me know when you think of that other G app. And then the guy would go, okay, fine. I downloaded it, but it was just to see what we were fighting up against, like get into the enemy territory. And then the wife would say, but it looks like you actually matched with someone on Grindr. And then he would say, well, that was just to preach the gospel directly to somebody. And she would say, but yeah, you made plans to even meet up with him. And then he would say, yeah, that was so I could preach the gospel directly to him in person, see if I could change him from gay to straight. And she would say, well, I'm looking at your photos and you seem to have, really done more than preach the gospel. And then he would say, well, I was just thinking that maybe if I actually hooked up with him that... Okay, that's the end of the impression.
So as you can see, the party of conservative values and masculinity, strong, virile, patriarchal masculinity, sure seem to be having some strange contradictions here. Very strange contradictions. But honey, there's more. I need y'all to stay with me because there's more. There's much, much more. So then we look at how they're trying to start this whole mass thing to save these men. Okay? So this is me helping everybody connect the dots. So this is a White House official memorandum. Preparing Americans for high-paying, skilled trade jobs of the future. Sounds great by itself, doesn't it? But we're not understanding where this is coming from and what's triggering these type of reactions from the administration. We just heard Dave Ramsey say 7.2 million men are just not working. They're floundering in life. We heard another guy say the same thing. But remember, the other guy say they need to pick up a hammer. And when they were picking up a hammer, no, they didn't make much money, but they knew their place. They had some reason. They had a purpose. So now the White House has to step in to keep the patriarchy going. Preparing Americans for high-paying, skilled trade jobs of the future. Reindustrializing America. You mean to tell me we going backward? We going backward? And many people, I'm not going to get all too deep into this, but many people know that if we go back and we start bringing factory work back here, things are going to go up tremendously because a lot of the materials they get is overseas. A lot of the work they get at nominal prices. Unfortunately, it's sad, it's exploitation, but yes, they are exploiting people overseas, but it causes the prices to stay relatively low here. So once those prices start going up to pay Americans a livable wage, then over here, things are going to start to go up. Because do you think a corporation is about to miss out on their margins? No siree. No siree. Now, y'all remember recently, let me just blow this up a little bit. Because we still connecting the dots on why men are failing and what I mean, really, I proved the point, but let me just go ahead and take it home fully. Reports from the summer and fall of 2025 indicate approximately 300,000 black women have left the U.S. labor force or lost their job in a short period, a trend attributed to broad public sector cuts during the Trump administration, declining DEI initiatives in the private sector, and ongoing structural inequities, including the network gap. Now, dig this. 300,000 black women done got kicked out of the job force. Y'all know I got a jobs group. I told y'all the job market is shrinking. I am not playing with y'all. It is about to be foot to mouth out here. Right? I am not playing with y'all. 300,000 black women have lost jobs. When they did that stuff that Doge went through and illegally cut all those people out of their federal jobs, the federal government was one of our biggest employers, helping black women get to the middle class. And although many men felt a way about this, this is what was helping us put food in the mouth of our children. You know, us baby mamas who go around and got 4-5 kids by 3 different men. You know, the age-old story, right? But then when we're trying to hit the workforce, oh, that's a problem too, right? Right? Now you want to attack DEI. Now, of course, DEI included black women. It included Latin women. It included white women. It included people with disabilities, veterans, all of that. So it did also hit white women too. But why do you think they coming for your money? Why do you think they're coming for your money? Why are they trying to financially suppress and depress you? Why do they have a problem now with college degrees? Because who became the face of college degrees? We know we became the face, and they can BS all they want to. They're going to say, no, but who became the face of college degrees? For those on the playback, leave it in the comments. Who became the face of college degrees? Now that we were the face of college degrees don't matter. Now that black women were entering the workforce and getting a lot of those white collar jobs don't matter. Isn't that strange and funny and weird how those things happen? Why are they trying to financially depress women, black women? Because they're telling us they finna cut off everything. Now, I want women to know, okay, yeah, they coming for the middle class black woman or the black woman who done went through and matriculated through education, and they're coming for the black woman who was in her little federal, I'm not going to say little, her federal jobs and stuff like that, and finding little loopholes and stuff like that. But they're coming for women who utilize certain social programs too. Okay? You are not exempt. Okay? That war had to go not just to Miss Independent, Miss Educated, Miss I got a six-figure job and I take care of my. Oh no, she's not the only one. They coming for all of us. Hold on. Okay. So, as of July 2025, Donald Trump's administration has passed legislation that cuts billions from supplemental SNAP. And the law is part of the One Big Beautiful Bill, which introduces several changes which will reduce the number of eligible individuals to shift more of the program costs to states. So, about 186 billion in cuts to SNAPs over the next decade. Now, I'm not saying that we were the face of SNAP, because we weren't. Black people are not the face of SNAP. Y'all can go ahead and look up that statistic, okay? But I'm saying this in the context of, it's not just the working woman that they are coming after. They're coming after women who depended highly on social programs, okay? Let me just pull up my list on what all they coming after. So they're coming after SNAP, Medicaid, SSI, rental assistance, LIHEAP. You know, when over the winter, when it get real cold, and you need to turn the heat up in all your houses, and you still got the computer running, and you still got the Wi-Fi running. Yes, they're coming after the LIHEAP program, because you know those energy costs have increased since Trump's tariffs. Listen, I'm trying to tell y'all something. I hope you catching what I'm putting down. They coming after the LIHEAP, honey. LIHEAP? Who the hell messes with LIHEAP? They're coming after rental assistance, housing assistance, children's health insurance programs, job training, and employment services. Do you hear me? Job training and employment services. They're coming after Section 8. They're coming after all that shit. Listen, if they're coming after job assistance, if you say, okay, I'm leaving the social programs alone, I'm done, whatever. Oh, but they're coming after job assistance too as well. The fuck? The fuck? They going after LIHEAP. They're going after housing assistance. They're going after Section 8. So they're going after women who got a job, and they're going after women who, quote unquote, don't have a job. Make it make sense. Put it together, people. They going after women who got a job. They going after women who don't got a job. They shrinking the job market, and then they're turning the job market back to a hammer and goddamn nails type of market. A hammer and nails type of market. Okay? I just showed you. Preparing Americans for quote unquote high paying skilled trade jobs, but who knows what that means? High paying to them, the minimum goddamn wage is still $7.25. Are y'all picking up what I'm putting down? I'm trying to show y'all the plot. They're moving very fast. So it's hard to keep up. But if they're attacking women with a job, they're attacking women without a job, then they're giving men back their hammer and nails and their identity, as false as it is. What are they trying to recreate? What are they trying to recreate? That is the question. I want to look at a little bit more of this Dave Ramsey video too, to kind of see what he was saying. Let's just watch that a little bit more.
Because we do know the data on kids, particularly daughters, to any segment.
What are the biggest problems you see today with men when it comes to work, life, money, and family?
Men have been devalued and trivialized and been the villain or the clown of everything for a good 20 years. You don't see a TV commercial where the dad is the hero, he's an idiot, or a sitcom where the dad is the hero, he's an idiot. The 12-year-old is the smart one, and they smart off through the whole script. And they're the brilliant one, you know. And but the dad's a doofus, and the mother rolls her eyes at the doofus that she picked as a life partner. And if you do that to any segment of the economy long enough, eventually they begin to believe it. And so we have 7.2 million men that are able-bodied, able-minded, that are not engaged in the workplace right now. They're doing nothing. They're sitting. Because the entire culture has said, you're a doofus, you're a buffoon, you're valueless, manhood, masculinity is toxic by its very nature, and so you're of no value. And the problem is it's destroying not only economics, but social fabric as well. Because we do know the data on kids, particularly daughters, the cues they take from their dad are devastatingly.
I'm going to stop just for a second to say, yours truly, you got it. They're trying to get women dependent on men. But let's listen to the implications. So much of this is being revealed without being revealed. They're saying, oh, they're showcasing men as a doofus. Oh, these men don't feel useful. Oh, being masculine is picking up a hammer and some nails and banging on things and having children and nuclear families. This is what makes men men. This is patriarchy. And then they say, okay, these damn women are in this workforce handling business. I don't care what none of these people say. We can look at the growth of companies over the last decade, and we can absolutely infer and draw the conclusion that women have absolutely contributed to the stellar, amazing growth of these companies, right? So if they take the women out of the jobs and they don't let the women have any social safety nets, not dependencies, if they don't allow women to have any social safety net, and further, they're not saying, oh, yeah, you know, hold on one second. They're not saying, oh, yeah, you know, your social safety nets, you know, they're going away, but you can go out and get a job. They're even attacking job readiness programs. They ended Job Corp. They want the men in a factory with a hammer and some fucking nails and banging on shit, and they want women in the house completely dependent on the men. But we got a problem. And I'm going to show you what the problem is.
Back, which they stole with political violence. This is not a white evangelical nation. This was a nation taken from its people through systematic political violence. That is what America is. And any white guy whose parents came over here in the 30s demanding that black people who were dragged to America and enslaved hundreds of years ago give them their country back, what we've heard from white nationalists only just confirms what Charlie Kirk's legacy is, and that is one of violence through his words, inflicting pain on marginalized people and telling his supporters to harass them. And that is the rhetoric we see kept up even in the wake. And before we get to how...
So I play that specifically because there's a couple other things that has to happen too as a part of the patriarchal arm. If they are minimizing education, obviously, because when you give black woman something, any seed, anything, we're going to take the ball and we're going to run with it, period. Point blank simple. That's just the way that it is. Yeah, we're not going to always do it perfectly. Sure, we're going to get caught up. Sure, it's not going to be everything that everybody wants, but we're going to move forward with it. We're going to take the ball running. So they need to reprogram us through religion. And they need to get rid of that education. Because being able to understand critical race theory and critical review will basically make you pretty much not have any kind of reverence for white men. And this white man is saying that himself. They would consider him,
which they stole with political violence. This is not a white evangelical nation.
Now he's saying it himself. This is not a white evangelical nation, but they're trying to recreate that. Because if they take the education away from you, you can't critically think about what is happening to you. You're not going to hold white men in high regard. You're going to see them and you're going to say a moron is a moron. You're not going to hold them in high regard, and you're not going to be overzealous about what they really are. If they're good, you're going to say they're good. If they're not, you're going to say they're not. But when you have been indoctrined to hold them in high regard, no matter what they do, you're going to see them as something powerful, something special. Okay?
I want to talk about who I was when I was married and who I am now that I'm divorced. And I want both men and women to hear that.
See if I can make her a little bit louder. No, this is my headset. Guess this is as loud as she can go. I hope y'all can hear it.
This, but a lot of men come at me in my comments because I got divorced. And I think it's because they're causing the same kinds of issues in their own marriages, and they're afraid their wives will leave them too, and it triggers them to see a woman like me talking about it who did it. But the thing is, like, a lot of what causes divorce is very avoidable if both people are willing to put in the work on themselves and figure out why they are the way that they are. When I was married, my husband needed everything a certain way. The smallest inconvenience would put him in a very terrible mood. He'd get super quiet, very avoidant, wouldn't make eye contact, sometimes for days. And I became an expert in knowing how to read him, knowing when to give him some space and when to ask questions, and sometimes I was able to pull him out of it. I was like his emotional caretaker. I was always his rescuer, but he often resented me for that. As a woman...
Let's talk about that. She said she was his emotional caretaker and he resented her for that. So, remember what I said earlier about letting these men be queer if they're queer. If you're queer, just be queer. I'd rather them just be queer than try to meet the pinnacles of patriarchy, because I'm telling you, these men who are suppressed are some mean nasty son of a bitches. Okay, they're mean, they're nasty, they're vicious, they full of vitriol, they can't stand women. And it's almost to me like they're angry that they have to deal with us when they don't really want to. So it's like saying, oh, you know what? I can't be a man unless I have you as a woman, but I don't want you. So, but I'm going to stay because my masculinity depends on it. I think this is very, very dangerous. I think this patriarchal push, this evangelical push is very, very dangerous. Yes, I know many men were confused and they didn't know what they could, what purpose they served. And then that manosphere rhetoric came through like a goddamn wrecking ball. And they started deferring their identity to their relationship to subjugation of women. And many men don't call it patriarchy. It is a mental state of mind that they're indoctrinated into in their early childhood. You look at different Disney movies, the ones who they say ain't woke, okay? No wokeness in it. But even then, Marvel movies, men are always the hero with valor and honor and making the sacrifices, and the women are just like, oh, thank you for saving me, Spider-Man. All of these things create this hero narrative in their head, creates this alpha narrative in their head. And this is what they predicate their masculinity on. So if you leave them to their own devices, well, let me just show you what happens when you leave them to their own devices, according to the patriarchy.
Okay guys, so let's learn about transmaxing as according to Google. So, the core ideology of transmaxing. The foundational belief of transmaxing is that life is easier for women than for men, especially compared to men who struggle socially or sexually. Okay, it proposes that by transitioning into a woman, a man can achieve a better or less challenging life. This theory often includes the following claims. Women are treated more favorably than men in society. Why? While transgender women may face discrimination, they are still perceived as better off socially than men who feel rejected than women. I guess I can see that. Therefore, transitioning is seen as a way for these men to upgrade their social standing or dating prospects, whatever. Linked to incel culture. Okay, so this is like where it all comes together. The concept of transmaxing is largely rooted in the incel communities. Incels are individuals who feel they are unable to find romantic or sexual partners, which often leads to a mindset of self-loathing and misogyny. Some of these motivations discussed within this community for transmaxing include escaping inceldom, the idea that transitioning could help them attract women by entering lesbians' social circles and gaining acceptance by dating men. That's just fucking scary. Sexual motivations, the belief that transitioning could lead to a more fulfilling sex life. Anybody else on hormones? Laugh at that. Social validation. The perception that as a trans woman, their complaints about dating would be met with empathy, unlike the scorn they believe is directed at cisgender men who complain about loneliness. This is just fucking wild. Okay, now this is why it is harmful and misleading, okay? The transmaxing concept is built on transphobic and harmful misrepresentations of what it means to be transgender. We can't argue this. The transgender community and other frequently criticized and reject this ideology for several reasons. Okay, so because it undermines trans identities, it frames being transgender as calculated for social or sexual gain rather than a genuine aspect of one's identity. This promotes the harmful stereotype that trans women are not truly women but men in disguise. Scary. Ignores the reality of trans experiences. The idea that transitioning offers a life is completely contradicted by the high rates of violence, harassment, discrimination, and mental health crises that transgender people face. Studies show that transgender people, particularly trans women, experience higher rates of violence, unemployment, and suicidal ideation compared to cisgender individuals. So why the fuck would you want to be one? I ask myself that every day. Spreads transphobic narratives. Anti-trans activists and some media have used the transmaxing idea to argue against transgender rights by portraying trans women as deceptive and predatory. Perpetuates misogyny. The transmaxing theory is inherently misogynist as it relies on a shallow, objectifying view of women and dismisses the complex challenges that transgender women face. I'm just blown away by this. I've never heard of any of it. I have obviously known trans people in my life that I thought to myself, like, are they really trans? Like, they just kind of like, I don't know. But I'm not here to judge anybody else's transition, and please let me make that clear. But please understand that there is a clear difference between transitioning because you are a girl and transitioning because you hate women, or transitioning because you hate being a man, or transitioning because you cannot gain any sort of attention.
Boom. She said the exact thing that I was looking for. Transitioning because you hate being a man. Now, obviously, this is a trans woman. I think we can all tell that. But transmaxing is something that has shown up on the far right Republican side that they're choosing to not acknowledge. Because what's happening with these men is they're going into these chat rooms, these weird online cultures, and they're being told, if you do not meet maximum Chad status, which means to be like this buxom, alpha, male, dominant, very shallow, very, very shallow ideology, then you don't qualify to be a man. You must then change and be a femboy or to be a trans woman. The reason being is because it will allow you social access to the things that women have. Now, let's think about it. The social safety nets like SNAP, job assistance programs, all of those things are going to disproportionately affect women because of the financial imbalance in our country. That being said, those social safety nets were once a thing that allowed women to, if they didn't want to deal with men, they didn't have to. If the man was too, he wasn't acting right, he was mistreating her, head getting knocked between the washer and the dryer, she didn't have to go to the pastor and work it out. She'd go to the shelter, or she'd go to get some housing. She would initially get some job assistance. She would initially get some sort of food assistance to be able to take care of her children and leave her abusive relationship. They're now telling you that these men cannot, there is no patriarchy without women's subjugation. That is just a fact. That is just a fact. And so, like yours truly said, they're wanting us to be dependent on them financially. But you would think that that dependence of them financially would showcase our weakness. It doesn't. It showcases their weakness. Because without guardrails, without giving them some remedial tasks to be proud of, they don't have an identity. And now they got the big problem of men wanting to be women just so that they can live a more socially acceptable life, just so that they will not feel like they can't have what they want in life because they can't be a man. This is what I'm trying to get women to understand. Whatever ideologies that we have of what men were, erase all that fucking shit out of your mind. Because I guarantee you, 9 out of 10, it ain't true. Most of the time, you're going to spend time, like that lady said about her marriage, emotionally carrying them and lying and pouring into them so that they can feel strong, so that they can feel powerful. We're lying to them. And this lie has been going on for a very long time. Now, what happened is, I believe personally, this is anecdotal, but I was happy to lie to men and make them seem more relevant than what they were until they start with that manosphere bullshit. Once you started with that manosphere bullshit, for me, all bets were off. The gloves coming off. You get what I'm saying to you? That's when I started to say, oh, okay. So you say black women are fat. Okay. Now, it's one thing to say, hey, we would like to see you improve your diet. We would like to see you work out more. We would like to see you more fit and lean. But it's a double-edged sword because they be making you fat. They the ones that's always bringing the food. Am I right or wrong? They the ones that's always stopping. I got you something to eat. Huh? What you want to eat? They the ones that always keeping you pregnant. And y'all think I'm joking, but they really do this shit on purpose. You sitting up there eating them burgers and them fries, having 50-11 babies, gaining all this different types of weight, can't hardly do nothing, can't hardly go nowhere. If the government has had to step in and suppress women so that men can feel valued, what the fuck do you think men are doing inside of their own relationships? This is something innate in them that they know. Patriarchy does not work without women's subjugation. There's no such thing as patriarchy unless women are subjugated. Just point blank simple. So men actually innately do this in their relationships. Yes, they do. They try to keep you from progressing because they know what happens when they let the chains off. We do very well in life. Say they the ones missing cortisol level. Yes, it's very manipulative. And so then, remember I showed y'all how 300,000 black women lost their jobs this year, and it's based on the federal government stepping in and financially suppressing us. But guess who picked them jobs up? Surprise, surprise. Like that song, Surprise, Surprise. Hold on, let me play that song because I like that song. That's my song, y'all. Forget y'all.
The more the world is changing, the more it stays the same. Life is full of small surprises. It's a never-ending game. If nothing is impossible, will you believe your eyes? If the unexpected brings a smile, that's a big surprise. Surprise, surprise. The unexpected hits you between the eyes. The unpredictable, that's the surprise you see. Surprise, surprise.
So surprise, surprise, goddamn. Surprise, surprise. Who picks up the jobs? 365,000 white men gained jobs between February and July. 300,000 black women lost jobs between February and July. It doesn't take a fucking rocket scientist to see what has happened. And if we can't use our social safety nets, you're going to have to deal with Rilo, drunk, lying, conniving ass. Okay? If we don't have our social safety nets or our high-paying government jobs, we're going to have to deal with Rilo's hammer and nails job, okay? We're going to be dependent on that income because we will not be able to get income from the government. Let me tell you something. Y'all not feeling it yet because it's 2025. It just happened. He just passed the big, beautiful bill. Baby, but in 2027, I want you to come back to this video. You're going to be fat. They are fat too. They are fat too. Hello. Hello. Shit. That's okay, because we're going to be the ones starting businesses. Necessity is the mother of invention. I mean, perhaps. I mean, they're not attacking small business loans and stuff like that. So that's great. We likely will be doing that. We're very adaptable people. But I just want to put y'all up on the game that's being ran here. I can't believe that we are regressing 75 years backwards because men are failing. Because men are failing. Now they got to go and pick up hammers and nails. And I think, again, nothing wrong with putting more into trades and allowing men to feel prosperous, because a lot of trades make way more money than white collar jobs. Okay? I get it. But when you start attacking the ability of women to make income, we understand now what this is about, especially if you're replacing them with white tea men. You get what I'm saying? The birth rate is declining. Women don't want to deal with men because they don't have to anymore. We don't have to. But in another 2 years, I wonder what this world will look like. And it ain't just black men, because I think that black men are least affected by this because they've already experienced this masculinity holocaust. Okay? They've already experienced this masculinity holocaust. It is white men that, see, that's the goddamn emergency. Black men was experiencing this holocaust since the 1970s. Because they were the ones that were in the skilled trade jobs. Now they have to contend with the fact that white men really just ain't up to snuff. Like Dave Ramsey said, buffoons. Okay? I mean, I don't make the goddamn rules here. Don't get mad at me. The truth is the truth. I'm not saying or indicting them in their character. I'm saying that if the cognitive functioning required is not what the labor market is demanding, then they will be out of jobs. So if the labor market is demanding more secretarial, customer service, technology proficient type of jobs, which require a certain cognitive ability, especially organization, and men are more comfortable doing laborsome jobs, but that's not the demand in the job market, then you will be excommunicated from the job market. So now what the government is doing is reshaping the market that we're in and regressing us back 75 years. Regressing us back 75 years. The shrinkage of remote jobs and the job market, y'all know, again, I have a jobs group. As I go onto those jobs groups, see, because they didn't put a lot of people out to pasture who were in those good government jobs. As I go onto those job boards and I look, I'm going to tell y'all, I'm going to show y'all something about LinkedIn. This is going to prove my point right here. Let me just sign in. I think I got a username. I think that's right. Okay, yeah, that seems to be right. Well, I can look at the jobs from here. This is in my LinkedIn, but whatever. Okay, let's see, jobs. Okay. So, these are all kind of like in-person jobs. Let me just look. Remote jobs today. All right. So, this is Stitch Fix. Now, what LinkedIn will show you, and let me just make this a little bit bigger so everybody can see it. LinkedIn will show you how long ago the person posted a job. So Stitch Fix posted styling talent community join today. Like, okay, so you get to style people. 19 hours ago, over 100 people clicked to apply. Let me tell you something. When a job is posted, like maybe 24 hours ago, you usually should see less than 100 people. That shows you that, you know, the job is getting around, people are looking at it, people are deciding if they want to apply for it. No. In this case, people so thirsty for a job that the job will be posted a goddamn hour and it'll say over 100 people have applied. Now, more specialized jobs, not so much, but here it is. This one is 2 months ago. This one's 17 hours ago. 65 people applied. So this one is still in good territory. The way I do it is when I find these particular jobs, if I see that, you know, over 100 people have applied by a certain time frame, if it's under 24 hours, I consider the job cooked. So if I see that, oh, you know, the job was posted 5 hours ago and over 100 people applied, the job is cooked. They're about to close that application and they're about to come with the first come, first serve that meet their desires. But right now, the supply and demand is on the side of the job creator. And that's why when I look on here, I'm broad. I used to, meaning that I have a broad search criteria. I literally put in remote jobs today. So that means this: show me all the remote jobs that you have for today. I don't give a damn what it is. Okay? And then I just start looking through there, because if I add any further specificity, I'm going to have a little bit more harder time finding it. Me being a person who is looking at this from all sides, I understand how the government see that men have pretty much been their skills and qualifications were not in high demand. But if you reshape the economy to be more of an industrialized economy, this will then make the men's skill sets closely more matched to what is going to be in power. So this leads me to believe that even in the 50s, when they talk about this golden age where women were in the house and men were working and they only survived on one income, well, I'll be honest with you, they're not going to be able to survive on one income, period, point blank, simple. That's not going to happen. Okay, that part is not going to happen. The whole reemerging of us back into the homes, it was a simpler time. People had one damn TV. Okay, motherfuckers got 6 phones, tablets. People are now only being together if they really want to be together. They're not being together for the purposes of just, oh, I need to survive. They're being together because they really want to be together. And let me go ahead and play this video of me, since I can't come on camera because my setup is kind of weird. I'm gonna figure this out for the next live stream. But I'm gonna let y'all see what I was saying about this very thing.
Good people, there is a lot going on in this world today. If you call yourself not paying attention, I wish you the best of luck, because attention is about to pay you. Women, what y'all have to understand is men are failing. Men are failing in this dang thing called patriarchy. And not just any kind of men, white tea men. The observable truth is that somehow masculinity is some performance-based system, and you are rated on how well you are able to perform the goal of masculinity. Certain cues, like being able to obtain and procure women, look a certain way, have a certain bank account, a certain level of prestige. None of it is necessarily about your character, but more so about how much you can amass a following of people who are going to look to you as some sort of guru or some sort of leader. The alpha part is only an external classification of the male. And the men that cannot achieve said classification of alphaness. So if you can't achieve said classification of alphaness, now they are grooming men to become women in a process they call trans-maxing. Oh, this is deeply scary, because it's not because they feel like they're in the wrong body. They feel like they will achieve a better social status and have better opportunities as a woman. Whoa. Now, as someone said, that ain't nothing more than a prison wife. And yeah, in theory, I agree. But the elites know this. And the elites need families. The birth rate is down. Male unemployment is up. Men are not able to, by and large, not all, but in general, achieve the high level of cognitive based jobs that require abilities like multitasking and general executive functioning skills. So to be the solution to said quote unquote problem, the government is bringing back manufacturing jobs and attempting to brainwash women into not wanting to have any kind of individuality and making it like having an individual perspective is somehow counter to wanting a family. So you can't have it all. You can't have a career anymore. And men need to be proud of the positions that they work in, blue collar or otherwise. So they kicking women out of the job market to financially suppress us so that we become dependent on men. And while I think that this will work in theory for some groups of people, by and large, it's not going to work very well, probably unless they get to the next generation, which is not Gen Alpha, but whatever comes after that. Gen Beta, I guess. So we're going to live in a futuristic world with a 1950s type of culture. This is crazy. And as women, we need to be aware of what they are trying to do. They are also attacking social programs. No, they're not playing. They do not want you to be able to depend on the government, so you are forced to depend on men who will likely be only able to financially give you survival. That is what they want for all of us to be in survival mode. Listen, we got to talk about it, and we got to sound the alarm.
Booyah. Okay, so that is everything, y'all. I definitely appreciate y'all rocking with me, because the truth is that I wanted y'all to understand what was going on, but it is hard to describe what is going on in a mere post. I could put up a post here, a post there, a post there, but I wanted to connect all the dots for you. We are here to save them. They are floundering. They are not in high demand, and they don't even know what to do with themselves but to become women, or just be incels, or just be pests to women, not really developing the social skills. The thing is, it's never expected for them to evolve. It's expected for them to stay these devolved creatures, but for us to have no choice but to deal with them, which will increase domestic violence. It will increase unhappiness. It will increase children, but children being born into scarcity are generally not happy children. But all they care about is creating a workforce. They care about saving the white tea man, and they care about creating a workforce that will keep people in impending poverty. It's really Project 2025 I just broke down, but I'm just showing you how it's happening in real time. So I have solutions, and I have thoughts about solutions, but I don't want to galvanize it with solutions. I want to hear y'all thoughts. What do you think we can do as women to either prepare ourselves for these changes or to overcome these changes? I heard business. What type of business you're thinking about? Like, we can't just say business, like break it down, but we really need to get this discussion popping, because there is something strange in the neighborhood and we ain't got nobody to call. Okay? It ain't no Ghostbusters. Okay? It's a wrap. It's done. Okay? So with that being said, once I figure out this camera situation, I'll come on camera. But let me know what you think in the comments. Definitely drop a like, share, and maybe one day I'll get on the algorithm. Who knows? They hate me.